Now who wanna move crossing on? Now who wanna move out on? If you got stripes, then you let the city know you rock 'em. Yeah, we got 'em. Yeah, we got 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em. Single bottle, never stop it. To the beast of Eastern on 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes? Flossing on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen. We gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who day we ignite and
Welcome to Bengals and Brews. I'm Del Altman, joined by the BSG, Greg Luther, Pork Chop, and special guest, former Bengals Offensive Coordinator, former Washington Commanders, have to be politically correct here, head coach, Jay Gruden. How's it going, Jay?
Going good. How you guys up? What are you guys up to nowadays? The season's over. What do you guys?
Well, as Bengals fans were happy the Chiefs lost.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was the greatest football game I've seen in such a long time.
Jay, I seen that you were rooting for the Chiefs. See, as Bengals fans, we cannot do that. We just can't. It's a hatred. So I was going to ask, is your disdain for the Eagles go back to your time as head coach for Washington, or is it something else?
No, I just like Andy Reid. Been a big fan of his ever since he joined the league. He's a hell of a guy, and I really had no chips in the pot whatsoever. Don't dislike the Eagles, although when I coached here, I hated the Eagles. I hate everybody Andy Reid's the only guy I like as a coach, so I really hate every team except for the Bengals. And now the Commanders. I like the Commanders with new ownership. And, of course, I like the Chiefs.
There you go. And speaking of the Commanders, we'll start there instead of the Bengals because our guy Pork Chop here is a complete LSU homer. So I'll let him ask you about a certain player that he was very excited about, and Washington became his second favorite team this year.
I'm just saying, like, 3 of the finalists for the Rookie Offensive Player of the Year were from LSU, and there was no question, Jay, that our boy Jaden Daniels won that. Tell us about Jaden Daniels' season.
You're right. How the hell did LSU lose a game last year with Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr.,
Brian Kelly?
Brian Kelly.
Same way Bengals lost this year. Defense, none.
Yeah, you're right. No, Jaden Daniels is one hell of a guy, man. He's a hell of a player. He's got poise out the kazoo. No moment's too big for him. He excels under pressure, which not a lot of young guys do that. It's usually the opposite. Pressure get to them. But Jaden Daniels, he applies pressure. He's accurate. He can run. He makes the right decision. He protects the football. For a quarterback who handled the ball as much as he did, for him to have the limited amount of turnovers that he had throughout the course of the year, it speaks volumes for his just ability to take command of the offense. And I know the players play better around him. The defense plays better around him. He gets the most out of everybody. That's what great quarterbacks do. And I think the sky's the limit for the Washington Commanders moving forward. They got to get some pieces around him, but this guy's one hell of a player.
He's got like no emotion too. Like this guy, if he throws a touchdown, the way he looks on the sideline, same as if he throws an interception. It's just like
he expects it. He expects it to happen, and that's it's not a celebratory thing every time he has a good play because that's what he expects to happen, and that's a great trait to have for a quarterback. The confidence that he has is awesome.
As a Bengals fan, I'm just thankful he went to the NFC. We got enough good quarterbacks in the AFC over here. Yeah. We take some more of them on that side.
Exactly. We don't need another one in the AFC.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Greg.
So, Jay, if I were to tell you, the Bengals this year had the best quarterback in the league, you could argue this year statistically, the best receiver, obviously, who won the Triple Crown, and arguably the best defensive end who led the league in sacks. And if I were to tell you they were going to not make the playoffs, only go 9-8, what would you have said to me?
I would have said you're crazy because I thought Lou was a good defensive coordinator. I mean, he did some great things a couple years ago or last year, and I know they had some injuries, but yeah, they just got pummeled on defense. And then you throw in Chase Brown, he's a hell of a back as well. And I know T. Higgins missed some time, and there's no way that the Bengals should have missed the playoffs with the talent they have on that football team. So yeah, I would have never thought that. No way.
I want to go back to Washington real quick because you worked under an owner that from the outside looking in, didn't seem like the best person or owner in sports. And it's funny how Washington's outlook is much sunnier now that Dan Snyder is out of there. So what was your thoughts working under Dan Snyder, and how inept was he as an owner?
Well, Dan was the owner of the football team, so he got to do things that he wanted, and rightfully so. He put up the money, and it's his team. The issue was he hired people to do a job and wouldn't let them do their job a lot of times. He would overstep his I guess it is his right to make picks and pick players and free agents and keep players and all that stuff and have meetings behind coaches' backs. But that's just the way he was. That's the way he wanted to do it. So, the difference between Mike Brown and Dan Snyder, Mike Brown puts the work in. So when you're talking about personnel, he's been in every personnel meeting. He listens to the scouts. He listens to the coaches. So he makes a decision based on his football background. Dan Snyder has no football background. He makes his decisions based on what he thinks the article will look like in a paper the next day. He has no idea. So big difference there. A lot of respect for Mike Brown. When he makes a football decision, I respect it because he's put the work in. The other guy never put the work in, so it's hard to really be on board when he makes a decision.
Now, Mike Brown, so we'll stick with that. So Mike Brown, he would be involved, but would he ever overrule a pick, kind of like you're alluding to that Dan Snyder would, where he would just come in and say, no, this is the guy I want, even though not talk to any of the scouts, the coaches, nobody, and make that move?
No, Mike was involved.
Collaborative process.
At least when I was there, Mr. Brown was involved in everything and in the meetings, and he would take control. I know Duke Tobin was head of the personnel, and Marvin was the head coach, Coach Lewis, and the offensive coaches, the defensive coaches. We had our input. He just took all the input, and at the end of the day, he made a decision, or Duke Tobin, whoever it was, they made a group decision on who we're going to pick, and we're all on board with it because we knew everybody put the work in. Not always. I wasn't always going to get my way as offensive coordinator, and Mike Zimmer wasn't going to get his way as defensive coordinator. But we knew that the decision was made based on professional opinions of a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. So that's a big difference. I want to get to Dustin's super chat here. Appreciate you, Dustin. He says, Jay, do you think fans make judgments in a vacuum too quick? Philadelphia wanted Howie Roseman out in 2020, and now he's getting all this huge amounts of praise. So that could be GM, that could be coaches, that could be player personnel. Are fans too quick to react?
Yeah, for sure. But, that's the way it is in the NFL nowadays. Coaches are only getting 1 year and getting fired, and they don't have time to really put their stamp on the game. I was fortunate enough to have 4 pretty good years, but we had a lot of injuries and wasn't really my team ever. And then you throw in the quarterback injuries, I had no chance. So it's just hard. The issue is a lot of teams, they can turn it around in a year. A good free agent, you get a good quarterback in a draft or what have you, like Dan Quinn did this year. They get Jaden Daniels. They go from 3-14 to, going to the NFC Championship game, for God's sake. So, you can turn it around a year, and that's what teams expect. That's what every team expects. But it's very unlikely that everybody can do that for sure. But, yeah, I think coaches and GMs need a little bit of time to try to do the right thing. Let's say do something absolutely asinine, like get rid of Saquon Barkley or something like that.
Who would do such a dumbass thing, right? So here's a question from our buddy Ryan. Jay, how embarrassingly small is the Bengals scouting department, especially we'll say compared to other teams in the league and other places you've been? And do you think that will ever change and they'll expand it, or do they like having a say with that group of people in the room?
You know what? I don't think it's embarrassing small at all. I think it's a good amount. I think you can have too many scouts. You got guys flying all over the place, all these different opinions, and some kid without any experience is evaluating the kid at Western Kentucky or what have you, gives his opinion. I think you need the information about the kid's background. That's what the scout's job is, give you the information, the pros and the cons about what the kid's all about off the field. On the field, the coaches and the GMs and everybody, we're going to watch this film and give our own opinion. But yeah, I like the way the Bengals did it. I think the coaching staff was probably a little bit too involved in the draft process as far as travel is concerned. I wish they'd pull the reins back a little bit on that. But for the most part, I think it was a good number. I felt it was a good, conducive number. Communication was excellent. And we had some great drafts back then. Now we had AJ Green and Tyler Eifert, Giovanni Bernard, Kevin Zeitler,
Geno Atkins
started. Geno Atkins. Yeah, we had some really good players offensively. I'm talking about played a lot of minutes for us and were really good. Marvin Jones, Mohamed Sanu. So yeah, we had some really good picks.
And this kind of goes back to that. So I think you already kind of answered this question here from Crip. Does he put too much pressure on the coaches? You're doing all that double work with scouting and coaching, or do you like it that way? And it's probably somewhere in between. The travel and stuff you kind of mentioned was too much, but otherwise you like having a say in who you're going to draft a little more.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think like the tight end coach needs to travel around to 12 different schools and work out tight ends. I think if it's a quarterback, if you're in need for a quarterback, then it's necessary for coordinators and quarterback coaches and head coaches to go travel, work out the quarterback like we did when I was there. We worked out Andy Dalton, Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder, Jake Locker, Cam Newton, all those guys that were in that draft. I think it was important to get to know all of them. because that's an important position now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And if it's a special player that, you might be drafted in the first round late, you might be looking at a tight end. Maybe you send them out to the top 3 tight ends and check them out. But you just got to pick and choose. I don't know what the right answer is. I just don't think coaches need to be traveling because they have a lot of work to do in the offseason as far as getting the team ready for OTAs and all that.
Absolutely. Greg, I know you got a laundry list of questions, so I'll let you get another one in here.
We had Hugh Jackson here on one time. We asked him if there was that one player that he wanted that got away that just didn't work out, and he said he wanted Devin Hester. Was there a player that you really wanted that just didn't work out? They had to go defense or something. Was there that one player that you really wanted the Bengals draft one year that got away?
Oh, boy. Not that I really can recall off the top of my head. I know that we were pretty good. Once we got Andy, we were young. We had AJ. Receivers were getting better. We got Eifert, which we needed a tight end. We got Giovanni. We needed the back. Nobody really off the top of my head that I can really say that we had a chance to get that we didn't get. I don't think was really the case.
Okay.
Here's another one from Ryan. Can you ask your brother if Burfict is ready to coach? Because I don't know if you saw the interview with Vontez Burfict. And if so, can you send him on to Cincinnati? We need some of that mentality here on our defense.
I love Tez, man. He's a hell of a player. He got a really bad deal in the NFL, in my opinion. There's no way he should be suspended for that long and kicked out of the league. And all he does is hit people hard. Sorry, they come across the middle. The quarterback throws a high floater across the middle, and he goes up for it, hits the guy, and he gets suspended. So, yeah, I mean, there are some things Vontez should have probably pulled away from, but he was a really good player. I mean, he was one of the best linebackers in practice that I've had to go against in my career coaching. I mean, he was that good, in my opinion, as far as instinctually smart, knew where the ball was going. He was awesome.
And
don't you think that if he would have got drafted by the Steelers, though, he'd have been just fine, right? He'd been Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, he's perfect.
Been a goddamn Hall of Famer.
Hell yeah, he's perfect. If he played in the '80s, he'd be a Hall of Famer for sure. But,
yes,
it's this can't touch a guy above the waist or shoulders are lower than the legs. I don't know. It's hard for a guy like that to play football, especially the physicality that he naturally possesses. You can't tell a guy like that, okay, hey, be a little more gentle, Vontez.
Right.
Yeah, he'll punch in the mouth.
Yeah. So Dylan here asked, you worked for different organizations. How does Cincy do things better or worse than others? So you can really take that question wherever you want. Things you like, or they could improve even, maybe still.
Well, I think Cincinnati does a lot of things right. I really do. I just think they got a closeness to their staff in the front office, and I think they all work together, which is important. A lot of staffs, you have so many people, and then you have people pointing fingers. Well, it's my guy, but they don't know how to coach him, and the coach is like, I didn't want to draft this guy. I don't think there's a lot of that going on at Cincinnati. There might be, I don't know, but that's the issue we have a lot of organizations. When the head coach is not in charge of personnel, the personnel guys is feeding these guys players, and the coaches don't want them, and the personnel, so the blames and the finger pointing goes on, and the owner's got to pick a side. Who's he want to fire, the GM or the coach? That's basically how it comes down to. I think the GM and the head coach should be tied together. One gets fired, they both get fired, really. So it's just hard to do, though. It's just hard to do because not a lot of head coaches want to put in the time that's necessary to evaluate players, free agents, and the draft kids. They need some help doing it. So I don't know the right answer there. I know Cincinnati does a lot of things right. I was at Jacksonville for a year. I know Cincinnati does things a lot better than Jacksonville, that's for sure. And I was at Washington, and I felt like Cincinnati did a lot of things better than Washington, quite frankly. So I try to bring a lot of the things from Cincinnati that I learned to Washington and things I learned from Tampa Bay to Washington. But obviously I had guys over me that I couldn't do a lot of things that I wanted to do.
Now, I don't know how much you're into the draft process yet or any of these quarterbacks, but Chris has a question on, is there any quarterback in this draft you would like to build around, or if you've watched, or that you're high on? You can mention more than one if you'd like.
Yeah, I think Cam Ward is a mother. He's got the great poise and accuracy. He throws a very catchable ball. Now, his lackadaisical, he's lackadaisical at times, which kind of frustrates me.
He's a gunslinger.
Yeah. But he's fun to watch. I remember him at, I think it was Washington State as a freshman. I did some things on him, and I said, this guy's got he throws a great ball. I mean, every ball is just like right here, and it's very easy for guys to catch. Now, how that translates to the NFL with the bullets flying a little bit faster, we'll see. Shedeur Sanders is interesting because he comes from a great background of family, obviously, and he's got an accurate live arm as well. So, yeah, I think those two guys are probably your top two picks. Then the Hunter kid from Colorado, I did him. I don't know what he is. I think he might be a receiver. I just don't know. Everybody says he's going to be a corner and they're going to have a package of plays for him on offense. I don't know how you take him off the field on offense. He's that good, I think, as a receiver. And I know he's a great corner, but if you have a chance to score touchdowns, I think you want to put him out there on offense as well. So there's some teams that are going to get him, possibly maybe the Giants. At least they have Malik Neighbors. Maybe they can put him at corner, and then because they need a corner really bad.
Right.
And then teach them about 20 plays of the playbook and get him out there with Malik Neighbors. So he's a great player. I haven't done a whole lot of the other guys. The defensive end for Penn State's pretty damn good. He's got
Abdul Carter, man. I love that kid.
He's just little. That's the only thing that worries me about him. I know Micah Parsons is a little too, but and then the other guys I haven't really done a whole lot of.
Now, that's one thing, since you mentioned the little, because we're always like, man, the Bengals seem to have this size profile. Guys between, and I know you're an offensive guy, so maybe you can't even answer this, but they usually stick to the 6'3" to 6'5", and they want the guys between 260 and 280. Do you think that they'll continue to stick with that, even though league-wide it seems like the smaller guys, the Micah Parsons of the world, are starting to become more prevalent and putting up more sacks in the NFL? Or do you think the Bengals are like, no, this is our type. We try to stick to our 4-2 or 4-3 base defense, and this is what we like?
Well, I think Micah Parsons is an anomaly, whatever. What's that word?
Anomaly.
I really do. Yeah, I don't think you want to make a lot of business being small. I think it's a big man's game. You want physicality. You want size. You look at the game. You look at what the Eagles have done, defensive line and offensive line, with Jalen Carter and this Jordan Smith guy, and these guys are big humans. And you don't want little guys. And then offensive line, they got that big guy, the rugby guy. They're huge up front. So you counter that with some little guys that can rush the passer. They're going to run the ball right down your throat. So you got to have size. You got to combat size with size, and then add some speed guys here and there. But yeah, I'm for the big guys as well.
Geno Atkins was a little guy.
Yeah, but he was big. He was thick. He was strong as shit. He was strong as shit now. Yeah. He was like a fire hydrant, man. You couldn't move that sucker. He was strong.
Well, we're ready for another one.
We'll take another. Everyone will take another Geno Atkins.
Yeah, Aaron Donald wasn't that big either, but he was strong. He could bench press like 700 pounds and squat he was strong. You couldn't move him. So, there's some exceptions to the rule, obviously, but for the most part, if you're going to err, you want to err on the side of size, in my opinion.
So, Jay, so obviously Bengals have 3 players they need to extend this offseason. Joe Burrow came out and said we need to keep the core together. You have Jamar Chase. I think we can agree. Jamar Chase, they're going to extend. But say if it came down to Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins. Trey Hendrickson, that's a really good player on defense you have. He's going to be 31 years old. He's going to be probably commanding around maybe $30 million a year. But you have T. Higgins, who's still young, 24, 25. Burrow really wants to keep him too. Maybe they could get all 3 some, but my question to you is, if it came down to keeping either T or Trey, who would you keep?
I'd probably keep T, just because, like you mentioned, Trey is 31 years old, and I know he got 12 sacks, or led the league in sacks. He's up for Defensive Player of the Year, and that's a hell of a thing. But T is, can he stop the run good enough? I don't know. They're both good. That's a tough question, man. I think on a different day, if you ask me the same question, I'd probably go back and forth. I have a lot of respect for T. Higgins' ability to separate and make plays with contested catches and the back shoulder fades. But since you have Jamar Chase, maybe you do. Your defense is so bad. Maybe you go Trey. I think you probably go Trey. I just don't know if Trey's worth that much money is my only issue. Right. Maybe you get 2 or 3 guys. Maybe you get another defensive lineman. Milton Williams from Philadelphia. Maybe, you get a couple other. Wharton is a free agent from Kansas City. Size up the interior offensive line.
Very good.
Hey, let me say this. Let's say Trey's 27. Does that change the needle at all?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's what like we were talking about earlier with the size profile that people look for and the age profile. I just try to get that in my head, because we keep seeing players like Calais Campbell, the guy's like 74 years old, and he's whooping ass still. He's a free agent as well. So, I don't know. I think you got to spend your money. And if you're going to spend it on a pass rusher like Trey, he better get to 13, 14, 15 sacks. If he still has the juice to do that, if he's been healthy for the most part, he's a hell of a kid. Obviously, he plays his ass off. So maybe you do take Trey and let Trey T walk and try to find somebody else at the receiver market that can help out. Maybe
I was just going to say, the good thing is they do have plenty of money, and they should be able to get a lot more. I don't know what they'll do with Sam Hubbard, but Sheldon Rankins of the world, Alex Kappa, they can create a lot of money and get almost up to $100 million against the cap. Did you ever run into that issue? Because there's the cap versus cash thing that is always out there, and people say the Bengals are cash poor. Was that ever an issue in free agency, that maybe there was a guy you guys targeted, but they were unwilling to work with them because of the guaranteed money? Because that's only going to continue to be more prevalent in the NFL as things go forward with guaranteed money.
Yeah, we lost our quarterback, Kirk Cousins, because of that stuff. But I know we weren't cash poor. I know Dan Snyder had a lot of money. I don't know if Kirk actually wanted to come back. I don't think he liked Dan or Bruce or Scott McLuhan, who was here at the time. So I think Kirk basically had his mind made up that he was going to leave. But he did leave for more money, and we didn't match it. So, it's very frustrating when you have a guy that you've kind of groomed to become the guy you want him to become, and he's growing in your system. Then he just leaves. You want to try to keep those guys in house as long as you can, but it's not easy to do. So you're going to lose people to cash or non-cash or contract or guaranteed money, whatever it might be. The players have very few opportunities in their careers to really get the most out of what they deserve, and it's going to, they're going to get overpaid, but it's good for the players.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as a fucking hometown discount, is there?
You're right.
Hell
because,
no.
because people always put that phrase in a bullshit.
No, that ain't gonna happen now, unless you're like in a tax-free state or something like that. You might play for a little bit less, but yeah, no, these players are smart, man. They know they got to strike when the iron's hot, because the iron's not going to stay hot very long, so they got to get what they can.
Now, do you know anything? The Bengals hired a new O-line coach, Scott Peters. Seems to be a well-respected guy. Was working under Callahan in Cleveland there for a little bit. And then last year went to New England as first year as the full-time O-line coach. Do you know anything about Scott Peters or anything that?
No, I know New England is horrible.
I know that too.
And and I had Coach Callahan on my squad, so hopefully he didn't learn a lot from either one. So hopefully he has his own stuff going on.
Right? Yeah.
These line coaches, man, they just gotta, it's hard for some of these coaches to find other coaches because you got to take a chance, and hopefully they can grow into your system and understand what you want to do. Zach Taylor's got to do a great job of grooming them and coach them how he wants the line to be coached. And that's easier said than done. You want an experienced line coach. I think the line coach is probably, for Zach Taylor being an offensive minded head coach, the offensive line coach is probably the second most important position he can hire other than defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I agree, especially when you're protecting an asset like 9 for the Bengals.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the franchise. Greg, you got anything that you want to throw in there? I know you got a long list. I got a couple more too, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Pop one on.
So I don't think you ever coached him when you're here, but Willie Anderson, this is just ridiculous. I think you could argue he may be the best right tackle of all time, at least in the 90s. How is he not in the Hall of Fame yet? I don't know how much you know about Willie, but it's a travesty he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they vote on these Hall of Fame guys, really. I mean, I guess you got to be in a Hall of Fame to vote on them, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Willie had a great career, obviously, and I don't know what what's the qualifications for tackles to get in. Is it length of time? Is it Pro Bowls? Is it starts? Is it Super Bowl wins? Is it what is it? Is it
it's don't play for the Bengals?
There's no transparency is the problem.
Bowls,
yeah, there's no transparency really.
Right.
It's kind of a little bit of whatever the hell happens, and they just same thing with the awards, right? The awards, there's no transparency on it. I'm going to vote for this guy for MVP because the hell with it.
Yeah,
this is my guy.
I saw that Jaden Daniels won Rookie of the Year, but there was one vote. Somebody voted for Brock Bowers. I got to find out who that guy was. I mean, how in the hell? Yeah. I like Brock Bowers. He's a hell of a player now.
Phenomenal.
There ain't no way you could vote for Brock Bowers over Jaden Daniels.
Right.
So, yeah, there's some wacky people out there voting for important.
That guy, he needs his privileges taken away for next year.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with this one digital dude here that's watching through X. We need awards for linemen, both sides. I seen someone float that out. What do you think about that idea, Coach?
I love it. I think they should be offensive lineman of the year or whatever it might be. Yeah, for sure. Interior grinder, something like that.
There we go.
Guys, I mean, you watch the game and what the Eagles have done throughout the course of the season. It's not because of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Sure, they had a lot, and Jalen Hurts and Saquon. These big guys are really the catalyst of that football team, the way they play, the physicality that they play with, and the other guys are benefits from that. So if you don't play physical football, the Eagles aren't in the game in winning Super Bowls, that's for sure.
Go ahead, Greg. I know you.
Okay. Rank these 3 Bengals receivers of all time right here. Chad Johnson, A.J. Green, Jamar Chase.
Wow. Well, I had AJ. I loved AJ. He had my first 3 years. He was pretty damn good. Chad Johnson, one of the better route runners I've ever seen. Sweet feet, in and out of breaks. Great touchdown celebrations too. I'll take Chad Johnson's personality. I'll take AJ Green's hands, and Jamar Chase's just overall dominance, run after catch. everything with Jamar Chase. So yeah, I'd probably say if I had to rank him, I'd probably go Jamar Chase number 1, just because he can do everything pretty damn good. I'd probably go AJ and Chad right neck and neck.
2A and 2B. You can do whatever here, Jay.
I
There's
know
no
I don't
rules.
know.
Yeah, right.
But they're all 3. I hate to do it, man. I hate to pick against my man AJ, because AJ got me a job with the Redskins, and enabled me to retire down here in Atlantic Beach, Florida. So gotta love AJ.
There you go. Let's say you're picking for the Bengals, and pick 17 is on the clock right now. What position are you going? If everybody's open, that you think's going to be there at 17, what position are you picking for the Bengals?
I don't know what the
17?
status is of your offensive linemen. I mean, you guys,
Our guards suck, Jay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the
you
status.
can't take a guard at 17 though. You got to go
No.
deep. You got to get a pass rusher. You got to get some kind of defensive line help, I would think.
Yep. Any
Without a doubt.
D-line.
Any D line, corner. If you can find a lockdown corner, that would be great. But you guys haven't had a lot of success with your first round corners for a while, I don't think. Have you? I don't remember. I know Drake Fitzpatrick was there. You had Hilton. I don't know. Also,
Nothing special.
Nothing special. Yeah,
No.
But yeah, I think the best available player that can dominate the position, especially on defense. You got to go defense probably, unless there's just a monster offensive lineman that you love. But you got to shore up the defense, for God's sakes. I think a lot will be told of free agency, who they re-sign, who they sign.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing about having free agency first, is at least you know what positions you've addressed and you can go after the other ones. Not always the case, but it's a pretty good indication of where they're going to go.
We'll only get a couple more questions here. We're almost at 30 minutes. Want to respect your time. We do appreciate you coming on. You're the freaking man, Jay. But Dustin's got a question. What excites you about the game of football in terms of trends or whatever else? And on the flip side, what concerns you that you've noticed that how the game is changing?
Well, penalties concern me the most, and how they're officiating games and all these calls coming in from the press box, and the games are going to take longer. You think the play's over, and all of a sudden, beep, there's a call for the press box or whatever, and it just seems like you see how close some of these games are in seasons. You look at the Bengals season, they're 9-8, and they're a game out from making the playoffs, and there's 2 or 3 calls, probably 5 calls throughout the course of the game. If they went the different way, they're in the playoffs, so they got to get the referee calls right, and they got to quit trying to baby the game so much, and personal fouls and all that stuff. I don't know what the answer is, but what I do like about it is still star power. I like the star power of it. The Mahomes, the Burrows, the Jamar Chases, the great players have the ability to be great, and it's very exciting. I think the offense is still starting to explode a little bit. I think you'll see better offenses next year. So yeah, I think the game is just an exciting place right now as far as the talent's concerned. I'm worried about the interior line talent. The offensive and defensive line overall talent with college football. I don't know if they're growing them as big and as strong and as nasty as they used to be. I think they're a little softer, in my opinion. So that's my biggest concern moving forward.
That's the world in general a little bit too.
Yeah.
That's another conversation. Dylan asked this specifically Bengals wise. What is the Bengals, especially from your time there, what do they maybe value in free agents? Skill, age, scheme specific for them, how that would translate to their scheme.
I'm trying to think. When I was there, I don't think we really went after any major free agents when I was there. We mainly did it through the draft. Let's see.
Was that something well known? Like it was just like, hey, we just don't dive here, so it just not a lot of conversations.
I would much rather build your team through the draft and stay away from free agency unless it was a need. When I was at Washington, we had to jump into free agency a little bit. My first year, we had no defensive linemen. We were short a lot of places, and we had to try to patch some holes up with free agency. We couldn't get them all throughout. You couldn't count on the 7th round draft pick to be a starting defensive lineman. You had to get some veteran leadership in there. So you can't just say, we're not going to mess with free agency. You can't go into the draft with an empty cupboard. You got to have some pieces, some stuff in there.
Yeah.
You got to really indulge in a little bit, but you just got to be careful about overpaying some guys that aren't a fit for your locker room. That's the toughest thing. You don't know the personalities and how they fit in the locker room. Like Washington went out and got Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know if he fits or not. He's a good corner, but are they going to keep him for next year? So some of these free agents that are available, Aaron Jones, you got James Conner, you got some of these running backs, you got defensive linemen. Sure, you can pay them $35 million. Then you're paying them more than the guys you have. There's some dissension, and I don't know what the answer is. I know that you don't want to go in the draft. Yeah, there's a fine line in what you do. I remember we went out and got Josh Norman when I was at Washington, paid him a pretty good chunk of change, and the corners we had were pissed off. They're like, this guy's not better than me. I need more money than him. So
Yeah.
it can create some kind of dissension in your locker room. But at the end of the day, you're just got to try to figure out the best way to make your team better.
Yeah. Greg, do you got one last question for Coach
Yeah.
here before we get him out of here?
All right. So next year, Geno Atkins will be on the Hall of Fame ballot. Make the case for Geno Atkins to be in the Hall of Fame.
Already? He's already been out 5 years?
I don't know if you ever – do they have to file paperwork also? Because I don't know if you ever did that.
Be on it next
Is it just
year.
they haven't played for 5 years?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
I don't know, man. I know that when I was there with Geno was he was a dominant player, man, and he may not have the stats to back it up, but I'm just telling you what, he helped Cincinnati when I was there 3 years in a row get to the playoffs. Without Geno Atkins, I don't think the defense is what it would nearly close to be what it was. He changed games. He put fear in some of these offensive linemen. He pushed offensive guards back into the quarterback. I mean, I can remember, his physicality, his strength, his power, his work ethic was second to none. And Mike Zimmer did a great job with them. And obviously Jay Hayes, I think, was a defensive line coach at the time. They were awesome together. And I just don't know how long he actually played. I can't remember how long he played before I got there. I know 11, 12, and 13 when I was there. Shit, no brainer. After that, before that, I don't know.
Yeah, I know he has like 80-some sacks as a D-tackle. It's just his numbers and everything are Hall of Fame worthy. But he's got to pay the Bengals tax, apparently, that there is, where guys like Willie Anderson, hell, even Ken Anderson isn't in there. Yeah, there's the ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, just Geno wasn't really a household name. That's a whole thing. You're right. It might go back to your Bengals theory there that, the Bengals don't get that notoriety amongst the whole NFL because Geno, I know that as a coach going against them after I left when I played with Cincinnati, I know we had four hands on Geno. I promise you that. Geno wasn't going to wreck the game.
Right. It's not a theory. It's a scientific fact.
Yeah.
About the Bengals.
And he paved the way for Aaron Donald. I mean, I think Aaron Donald said he watched Geno going in, and Aaron Donald, you could argue, is the best.
Certainly helped his draft, or Aaron's draft stock.
Well, because Geno put it on tape that you can be a little bit undersized defensive lineman and dominate games, and that's what Geno did. And then Aaron Donald got picked because, hey, Geno, this guy's just as strong and just as athletic. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think Aaron Donald probably have been a third or fourth rounder for Geno Atkins.
Yeah. Now, your brother's doing a generational run here with Barstool Sports. Can we get you doing these videos, singing, surrounded by these? Like what's next for Coach Jay Gruden? I know you can plug some of your stuff here as we let you out of here, but can we see you doing some of this stuff John's doing?
I don't know. John got on me for being on Twitter early on, or X, whatever it is. We do it on social media. Now he's all over the place. I can't get away from the guy. So I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's having fun. He's staying busy. But yeah, I think I'm pretty limited. I don't have the personality that he has probably. Actually, I have a better personality, but I don't know. See. Right now, I'm on YouTube called Clean Pocket with me, Colt McCoy, Justin Pugh, and AQ Shipley. We just talk ball. YouTube Clean Pocket, and I do some stuff for Underdog. So yeah, I'm having fun right now. We'll see what happens next year.
Hey, I'd love to see you. If even come back as a lot of these guys come back as like senior analysts, and not to put the senior in it, Jay. But I'm just saying,
I'm definitely a senior now compared to the way the league's going now with all these young coaches. I don't even know who anybody is anymore.
Would that be something you'd be interested in doing with the team, though? Because you see a lot of these guys do that. We had Ken Zampese on, he was doing that.
You can give me a video. I can be a senior analyst from here in Jacksonville. Yeah, sure. I can do that easy.
Hell yeah, there you go.
I can give you my best third down plays. I can give you my best red zone calls. I can tell you, how to protect double A's and single backer jam and 4 strong, 4 weak. I got it all dialed up for you.
And what's the name of that YouTube channel again? They're asking in the chat, Jay.
It's called Clean Pocket.
There you go. Type in Clean Pocket. You're going to see Colt McCoy. You're going to see Jay Gruden. Who else you say was on there?
Justin Pugh, who's an offensive lineman, and AQ Shipley, who does some work with,
McAfee and them
McAfee.
boys.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate you, Jay, man. You are absolutely the man. Appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me on anytime, fellas. I love it. Love talking Bengal ball.
Yeah, who day?
See you, Coach.
Yeah.
Boom.
Dude, right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm going to rip my heater.
That's
there
awesome.
There you go.
How to get him out there so I can rip my heater.
Stop. Heater time.
Heater time. No, man. You can talk ball with the Grudens all day long, and that's the thing.
Well, that's what we need to get an episode like with the Goodberries. We need the Grudens.
Yes, we do.
Well, good luck. Good luck getting John, because, Barstool, man.
Oh, it's funny.
They're keeping that guy busy. They got him shooting. Did you guys see the video? It was hilarious.
Where he's dancing. Yeah. No, that was hilarious. Yeah.
I did not see that video. I was napping.
It's like a 4-minute long video. Like he's singing karaoke. He's it's John from Yoga was the whole thing. These women are like, oh yeah, John from Yoga's coming. And they're like, yeah, let's see this fairy. And it's John Gruden and these poor guys who are watching the game are all like,
yeah.
Oh shit, that's John Gruden. They're like, hey, you want to watch the game with us? And he's like, no, he's just hanging out with the four women,
Man.
you know.
I know it's off of the Gruden train or whatever, but how satisfying was that Super Bowl last night?
That was so satisfying.
Yeah. And Chris Crowley says, Mahomes just got sacked again.
Oh my God.
Boys.
Not only beat,
small thing. Listen, our season didn't go as planned, but my God, the Chiefs getting their ass whipped felt very good.
Listen, the rent that I'm paying that they live free in my head is worth every fucking penny last night, man.
Well,
fuck them.
Did you guys feel bad for all the stuff, Kermit the Frogs, that were getting burned in Philadelphia yesterday?
Come on, Greg. Give us a Kermit impersonation. We just had a great guest. Give us some more.
Hey, everybody! I'm Kermit the Frog. I got fucked by the Eagles yesterday.
I got fucked in my ass. See, I can't do it, Greg.
Fucked in my ass and all that.
Hey, everybody! I'm Kermit the Frog. I got fucked in the ass by the Eagles yesterday.
And all that.
And all that and stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
And everything.
Oh man, y'all are gonna make.
No, that was awesome. That was at first I'm like, AJ Brown gets called for offensive pass interference. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a long ass game. Maybe the Eagles paid the refs more than the Chiefs, and the Red Chiefs didn't.
Or the NFL. This is the first time they really came out and said thing against the rumors about the NFL being rigged. Maybe it's an overreaction by the NFL.
Yeah.
So
Ron Torbert switched sides.
Yeah.
No, it just seemed like a pretty fairly called game, honestly, for the most part.
DeAndre Hopkins was complaining. I'm like, Hopkins, you dropped an easy pass that went right to you.
The look on the Chiefs' faces after each defensive play, and there was no penalty called when they would get when the Eagles would get a first down. It's just like they're like, what the fuck? They're just like this, like.
And Taylor Swift, you did not see her barely at all.
Oh, they showed her when everybody was booing her dumb ass. Yeah. You know why, Taylor Swift? Because you're dating a loser. Fucking loser.
I seen something that was like her with Cooper DeJean, after the game. Sorry, Travis.
I did see that too. Oh man, I saw one with that had what's that? DJ Quarles is fucking Cooper DeJean, and that what was that? Road Trip. Remember the Road Trip movie when he dates that real big black girl?
Yeah.
And it was a photo shot of that. It was like Cooper DeJean when he gets back to Philly tonight.
Speaking of Philly, man, they're fans. Good God. Did you see some of the videos today?
Oh my gosh, a bunch of arrests got made yesterday.
Oh yeah, they were tearing all kinds of shit up in that city.
Yeah. I mean, it was Philly fans. Oh, they were.
Fuck the Chiefs. Embarrassed.
Yeah, honestly, so enjoyable. Just like
Yeah, I enjoyed every minute of seeing. It was just. I was so happy for the Eagles, just doing what they had to do to beat the Chiefs. Milton Williams, though, please come to Cincinnati. I know his price just went up, but man, I'd love to have Milton Williams.
He's definitely outpriced.
Who from the Chiefs do you think retires now?
Kelsey.
If anyone, I think Kelsey, but I don't know. He could be back.
Well, I'll tell you what, that guard Smith,
retiring?
That guard Smith, Trey Smith, is only free agency. Man, he got handled. Jalen Carter just ran right through him, it seems like, all the time. Huh?
Yeah, I think Trey Smith I'd pass on.
Yeah.
Certainly not paying him $20 million a year.
Hell no. But yeah.
Man, the Eagles did show the Bengals what needs to happen, and that is the trenches.
Yes. And I wasn't going to correct Coach Jay Gruden about the bigger guys and the Eagles with the bigger guys. But one guy they got that we could have got, and no offense to Miles Murphy because I still like him, but Nolan Smith.
Ugh.
He's a good player. He's just smaller, but he's physical. That's the way I feel about Mike Green and Ezerico.
Right. Let me say this too about what he was saying is it's like every fan it's like, man, this Bengals front office, fuck them, cocksuckers. And we get coaches on here and players, and they all love the front office.
Yes, they do. All of them have nothing but nice things to say. That's what I found interesting too, Chop.
It is, and we'll give Mike Brown credit for that because you
Yeah.
can tell Jay has no love for fucking Dan
Jay,
Snyder. I don't think most people do that are football people because what he said is what you hear. This guy would come in and make decisions out of nowhere when all these guys put all this work in, their scouts, their front office, their coaches. They all got a plan. They all got guys they want. And he just comes in and says, no, we're doing this. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I own the team. Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Brown, at least give Mike Brown the credit and all that. He's in on the meetings. He respects their opinion. But, obviously, do we wish that, there'd be a few more scouts here and there and like the coaches shouldn't have to do all this traveling? Sure. But at least Mike Brown's is cooperative with his employees. So.
Yeah. And maybe they don't have the right GM in place, even though they don't give the title of GM.
What GM? We don't have a GM.
You know what I'm saying, though, dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've had good drafts, but they've missed on a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, well, look at the Eagles. Me and Dustin Croft was having a conversation on Twitter earlier today, and talking about investing in the trenches, which I said that yesterday. 100%, you got to invest in the trenches. But it's like, look at the misses for the Bengals. Like when you miss on a Jackson Carman in the second round, it set us back. Now our guards were awful. That's a second round pick. If it was a competent guard that we drafted there, everything looks a lot better right now. This season would have went a lot better. Zach Carter, third round. If he's somewhat decent, average, mediocre, he wasn't. He's pure ass, overdrafted. And you miss. And the misses, you're still not willing to. That's one thing with the Eagles. They miss, they get somebody else in there.
Right.
Hassan Reddick, they got to eat dead money. They get somebody else in there.
Exactly.
They continue to draft. They continue to bring in free agents. They continue to add to their team. The Bengals don't always do that. That's the problem. Because everyone's going to have misses. The Eagles had plenty of misses too. They just supplemented it with more makes on top of it. More bodies, more talent. You have to do it.
Exactly. You got to bring in the pieces that win. If the pieces you got aren't winning, man, bring someone else in. Like exactly what we said going into the draft, the trade deadline. We needed a one player on defense, Instead, we got Khalil Herbert, which turned out good the last couple games, but still, been nice to get, one pass rusher or something like that to shore up the D line.
Well, it's even like that, that last wave of free agency, after free agency's done, because free agency happens before the draft. So free agency happens, the draft happens, and we go, damn, you could still use another edge rusher. You could still use another corner. Why don't you bring Calais Campbell's still out there. Why don't you bring that guy in? Why don't you bring in a veteran corner that's still out there? Eli Apple. I'll just throw out names of people that were out there.
Yeah.
Somebody because injuries are going to happen. Building that back into your 53-man roster is huge, and the Bengals doesn't always put that emphasis on their roster, and it bites them in the ass year after year.
Yeah. Mekhi Becton, Dalton Resner, we've been saying that.
Yep.
Dalton Resner's the guy who stuck around. Becton ended up signing, but yes, they should have signed Becton in the first wave and said, hey, we'll make you a guard, whatever. That was before the draft. And
didn't
then
he come in? Didn't Mekhi Becton come in for a
and Tyler Tart? They took him to fucking Jeff Ruby's and didn't even sign him.
Nope. They did not even. He came here. They didn't even. They just let him leave Cincinnati.
Mike Brown was pissed. He got that fucking Jeff Ruby's bill.
Yeah.
You're right.
Said, shit, we didn't even sign him. Why did we take him to Jeff Ruby's?
Well, Jeff Ruby may have gave him a thing of cigars and all that. He took it with him. And Jeff Ruby's like, he took the cigars with him to Philly.
I'll check
Give him a whole box of cigars and everything.
Well, we don't know. I don't know. But he did that. Who was the one offensive? Riley Reeve. He did that with Riley Reeve for one time. We got him for 1 year.
I'll be damned. Huh. All right. Oh, well, you know what? I should have asked Jay because, he's a local boy. He's from Dayton. The Grudens are from Dayton, but I should have asked him if he wanted to come to our live event we're doing on March 15th at where, Greg?
Midwest Best Barbecue, proud sponsors of this show. And I had a bunch of Midwest wings yesterday, Chop. My brother ordered like 80 wings, half G-Funk, half Grippo. Some were boneless, some were just wings. Dude, I kept stuffing my mouth with those wings, and man, they were delicious.
Yeah, I know.
And also, man, you can wear your Chop Shop shirt, also a proud sponsor of this show, to Midwest Best, which is a great get.
Right. If you go in there wearing a Chop Shop shirt, you are guaranteed to get 0% off of every order.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
But you'll still be cool, though.
Yeah, you'll look fly as hell.
Yes, you
is
will.
the point. Right, Dale?
I think he's checking on his dog right now.
Oh, he's checking on.
I just came back from the bathroom, so yeah. But anyway, yeah, no, that Jay Gruden, man, man, it was just so cool he got to come on. I mean, like just hearing his intake, him as a former coach on how the NFL is, or like, working with the Bengals. It's always good to hear from a former guy who's been an NFL employee, especially as a head coach.
Like before, a lot of people in the chat don't know, but right before we started the show, Dale says to him, "What's off limits?" He's like, "Ask me anything." Like, all right.
I said Dan Snyder's a fucking idiot.
He was like, "Go, anything.
Go for it. I don't care."
I love that.
Yeah, I'm not. Hey, he's an honest, and like I say, that just shows you how much respect he has for Mike Brown, because he does not, he let us know his misgivings about Schneider, but that just shows you how much respect he has for Mike Brown. Like Chop said, every coach we've had on here has nothing but nice things to say about Mike Brown, and that says a lot there.
And every the whole player has nothing but bad things to say about Katie and Troy.
That is true. That is true.
Man.
You can't always win the negotiation, right? When you're trying to win a Super Bowl, sometimes you got to be willing to say, "Oh, I lost the negotiation, but my team is hoisting a Lombardi trophy at the end of the season. Who gives a shit?"
You're welcome, Matthew. Got his shirts today. Very nice.
Yeah, I popped that up.
You're probably going to get laid tonight. I'm just saying. Put time in your schedule for that. That way you don't miss any sleep. Because if you pop one of them new shirts on, it's pretty much a guarantee.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was cool how Sirianni yesterday, Cal Moore, who's pretty much accepting the job with the Saints, he's like, "Cal Moore, let's take this back. Come on, man. Stay with us here. Stay with us."
And what did he say? He was like, "Nah."
And I think he's late, but you can tell he's trying to persuade him to stay.
Well, it sounds good, right?
Yeah, it sounds good. And then you're also given the opportunity to be one of only 32 positions in the whole world.
Right.
For head coach of the NFL. You take your spot when you can,
Exactly.
Just it's like the first round picks. You can't choose where you're going. You're going to go to a shitty team. So like teams that are winning don't look for coaches. They're winning. They're not firing their coach. So you're going to go to a team that's going to need a lot of work. And so when that's offered to you, there's only 32 teams in the NFL. So when that job's offered to you, no matter where you're at, that's what you do. You go and you make the best of it. Like same Jay Gruden did. He went to a place with a shitty owner, tried to make the best of it. You know what I mean? That's what happens when Lou was going to interview with Arizona. That fucking place a dumpster fire. But at the same time, if you're offered that job, when's the next time that's going to happen? Like, let's just say that they did offer Lou that position and he didn't take it because it's such a dumpster fire. Well, here the fuck he is now. Now he got fired as the DC here and got a job in Indianapolis. So, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think that they offered him the job, but if they did, why not? You know what I mean? You can always go back to defensive coordinator. Mike Zimmer did it. He went out there and he failed as a head coach out there in Minnesota. And then what happened?
Yeah.
He was defensive coordinator for Colorado, and then the next year he was defensive coordinator in Dallas.
Yeah, and I don't think he really failed Minnesota. He brought them to the top at times, but I think just after, like, he had a couple of good years. He almost got them to the Super Bowl, pretty much, but he just fell short on a huge play by the Eagles. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Chop. Because I'm just saying, if it doesn't
work out as a head coach, you can go back to being a coordinator.
Exactly.
I get what you're saying. Robert Saleh. All right, he's going back to defensive coordinator. There was no question, like, that dude was going to be scooped up by a good team as defensive coordinator. They were just waiting around to see if he was going to get another head coaching gig.
Right. But yeah, anyway.
Who's this fuck? What's up, boys?
I sent him a link Sent Iceman a link, and I sent the CEO a link. Says they want to pop in.
There you go.
You know, because we're at 50 minutes, so we can do another 15, 20 minutes. I don't have a lot to talk about, man. It was all Jay Gruden. We're going to talk a lot of draft. I think on Friday I'm going to talk about guys I think everyone will talk about more / earn money based on their combine. Because the NFL scouting combine is coming up here in a couple weeks. And there's some guys that are going to test well. And I'll mention one name because people are like, oh, as a pass rusher, is this, that, and the other? Why are you so high on this guy? Because I see the pass rush upside, and he's 340 pounds. His name's Kenneth Grant. He's supposed to test like an absolute freak, boys. So when everybody is sucking Kenneth Grant's dick, just know I said it first. It's going to happen. People will be like, will he make it to 17? Because he's going to show out at the combine.
Dustin, are you going to suck Kenneth Grant's dick?
Man, I don't know if that can fit in my mouth.
You got a little mouth.
Huge.
Yeah, Jesus. 348 pounds.
Yeah, Darius
I mean,
Alexander.
to be fair, I weighed
Probably
500
going to be
pounds.
one guy talk about KP on Friday.
To be fair, though, I weighed 500 pounds, and my dick was no bigger than it is now, and that's small.
You couldn't find it, right?
I couldn't even see the fucker. I mean, I guess it could have been bigger. I never saw it.
Maybe it did grow.
I saw it 3 weeks ago from Tuesday.
Hell yeah. Dustin, what do you think of Jay Gruden being on? I tried to get more questions from the chat. It's hard to do when you got a guest. Greg had like 4 pages of questions, so I was trying to be respectful to Greg, but I was trying to get questions from the chat. I thought we did a good job getting a lot of questions in. But what did you think of Jay Gruden and anything he said that stood out, especially specifically Bengals related?
I thought his take on the size was interesting because, you know, I know like you and I have spoke online and offline a little bit about that with like size profiles. And some of these defensive ends like holding up against these run heavy teams. So I think that was an interesting perspective and something to keep in mind as we evaluate pass rushers. Like, how are you going to use them? What are you willing to give up? You know, like in the AFC North, for example, you know, TJ Watt doesn't play the run at all, right? But he's highly productive. So if you have a defensive end that can't hold up against the run, what are you getting in return? Like, are you getting 13 sacks? Are you getting double-digit sacks? So I think that's something that you have to evaluate with some of these pass rushers. So I found that really interesting. And I just found it interesting when he was talking about just the inner workings of the Bengals front office. And I do, like, one of my perspectives, I think, too, and I forget who said it, Bill Parcells or something, is like, well, they don't let me shop for the groceries. But there is this kind of like philosophy where it's like the front office actually like should be the one driving the decisions on players. And sometimes the coaches can be a little blindfolded because they're, you know what I mean? So there are some teams that don't want, like, they want put feedback from their coaches, but they don't want them being like driving who they're picking specifically, if that makes sense.
You know, especially with this year with Al Golden coming in, they might have to pull the reins on him a little bit because he was the DC at Notre Dame. And so he's already coming in with a lot of guys that he would really love to have on his team, you know. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I almost think it's a done deal that we're getting Xavier Watts. I just think he's going to be on our team.
Let's see how he tests, because that's kind of the knock why a lot of people think, oh, because I got him, like I said, around 35 on my board. Actually, I think I'm going to end up, the more I looked into, because I already researched for Friday's show about guys that should test well, and it was very close between him and Nick Imanwori. But Nick Imanwori is supposed to test like an absolute freak show.
Yeah.
And Watts is not supposed to test so well. So these are things that I'm curious to see, right? And it's only one part of it. I want to see how you play on the field. But both of them are good players on the field. So a deciding factor might be the 6'3", 220-pound safety that runs a 4.3, 4.4 and jumps 40-plus inches. Just say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chap, I hear what you're saying with Xavier Watts. Now, I wouldn't complain if we got Xavier Watts. And I don't think you'd be mad at him, but like, I get the point you're making. He's going to want, some of his own players. I get what you're saying. But Xavier Watts, we got him in the second round. I will not be complaining.
No.
Especially, second round, hell yeah. I mean, if
That
they get
is
him in
what
the
scouts
first-
are for, though, too, right? Because like you're taking the bias out. Like, hey, you worked with this player, but it's also my job to evaluate what he can be in the NFL that you haven't worked with. So it'll be interesting to see how. Because take your guys, but also you got to be a little careful.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll just say Nicky Monmorier, 6'3", 227. Expected to jump a 42-inch vert, 25 reps of 225. Clock close to 23 miles per hour field speed, and he just turned 21 February 7th. That's another safety chop, just saying.
23 miles an hour.
On field speed.
That's very fast.
I'm just saying, you might get a boner for this guy. I'm just telling you ahead of time. I'm giving you a couple weeks to prepare.
Those testing numbers
A
are
couple weeks to get my boner ready.
impressive.
My
But it's
boner?
like, yeah, it takes a week to get the boner going.
I'm dead.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, once you get this fucker fired up, though, man, you better be ready for the ride.
It's not going down. It's not going down for a week or two.
I mean, it's got some old gas in it, but it'll kick over.
Tucking that thing in your pants like you're a middle schooler.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Al Golden and his Notre Dame defenses, they had good trench players, but he was always building from the back end forward.
Back end.
Yeah. So,
Back end.
I mean, now it could be that they just happened to recruit those athletes and they developed in the secondary. But his secondary and linebackers, it seems like that's where the strength of their defense is. Now, they had good trench players, but they weren't dominant in the trenches on defensive line. They always just had like good lockdown corners, and I don't know. Xavier Watts is such a smart player. His football IQ is huge. So coaches fall in love with that.
And you can't measure that at the scouting combine. I mean, you can through interviews and things like that, and teams will do that too. They'll meet with players. It's more than just what you see on the field too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think somebody was talking about. I was listening to a podcast like the Chiefs, the way they draft their defensive players. Like some people are kind of somewhat unsure about like a Trent McDuffie, for example, but he is a really intelligent player. So there's like Spag's whole thing is drafting guys because his defenses can be kind of complex and ask a lot of them to communicate in the back end. So I think those things are really important, and you kind of you kind of wonder if like Al Golden was a defensive coordinator 2 years ago, would we have drafted the same players?
Right.
Be interesting.
Yeah, totally. It probably wouldn't have been exactly the same players. I mean, that's a big key piece you're missing as defensive coordinator on the input, but I'm just hoping that my biggest thing, and you already know, Dustin, is from watching the show, is player development. I'm hoping that Al Golden and his team comes in here and can develop the players that we got, because I don't think we got bad players. I don't think we drafted bad players. I just think that they haven't been developed.
I agree. I
think he'll love Jordan Battle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If he likes Xavier Watts, I think he's going to like Jordan Battle.
Yeah.
And Dustin, go back to what you were saying. Yeah. The thing a little concerned, the reason why I kind of liked Graham at one point over Golden, because Graham likes to concentrate on the trenches. I kind of want to get a defensive guy, coordinator here, that really knows how to do the trenches really well. And, the thing with Al Golden was, like you were saying, he relies more on the defensive backs. And so that was something I kind of was back and forth with. But one thing I liked about Al Golden's defense, I look into, is communication. He had guys that knew how to communicate with one another. If you look at the place the Bengals gave up, like I remember one time last year against Pittsburgh, we gave up that huge pass to Pickens. It was because of miscommunication. Like, he was supposed to guard this guy, he was supposed to guard that guy. But yeah, Al Golden definitely always made sure his players were all on communication on every single play.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, your responsibility as a coordinator is to make sure communication is tight. I mean, you're going to blow a coverage here or there, but it can't be happening at the rate it did the last 2 years. No. So that, to me, that's coaching. And at the very least, if we play more discipline, our defense will improve, So I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan Luden's big thing was drafting guys who wanted to sit. Like Lou had a heavy say in drafting Zach Carter, had a heavy say in drafting Dax Hill, and had visions for them, and it didn't work either. So not only did he get players in, like get them experience, but the way that he projected the players, like Zach Harler, they moved him after the first year. So,
Chop, Ed. Well, did Jeff leave? I think Jeff was in the background. I was on this comment, so I couldn't. Sorry.
There he is.
Robert asked about thoughts on Milton Williams. He's going to be 20+ million. I don't see Milton Williams as a guy that would fit us, but man, I love the talent. I would love to add a guy like that. We should have just drafted him in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
What's up, Jeffrey?
What's up, boys?
How you doing, buddy?
Good. Just enjoying the Chiefs defeat. It was awesome. I enjoyed every last second of it.
That was the greatest Super Bowl I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes.
I said this. I knew their offensive line was better. Their defensive line was better, but good God, their defensive line destroyed them. And
this is what should have happened the last time they played, honestly. I thought they were going to get steamrolled last time by the Eagles.
And the thing is, I was watching a little bit of NFL Live, and to watch Dan Orlovsky was showing how far the edges were out, how wide they were, because they knew the Chiefs would not run the ball. The Chiefs would not and could not run the ball. That's what everybody gets mad about the Bengals for doing. It's the exact same freaking thing.
Funny thing was with the Eagles' defensive line, what's scary is they didn't even blitz once the entire game.
They didn't have to. They only rushed 4. That was it.
Yeah.
It was crazy, dude.
That's gonna set the blueprint. That's the gold standard. You have to develop a team that can get rushed with 4.
Funny you say that. That's what I titled my show today.
Yeah, there you go. Because I mean, you expose your secondary, they're gonna get toasted every once in a while. So the less you actually have to blitz and still can create pressure, I mean, you're gonna
get pressure with your front. Which I mean, honestly, that's what the Bengals did in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. They kept Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. They didn't think they could run the ball. They dropped. It's a little different.
Uh-oh.
What?
Froze.
Oh, he got frozen.
Iced up.
So Caudell Ross here.
My back?
Apologize if I said your name wrong, but it says Walter Nolan. Then I'll let Jeff pick back up where he was at. But Walter Nolan, one thing I want to mention, because I've said, like, I ain't buying this bullshit unless somebody like Dane Brugler or Daniel Jeremiah says there's character stuff. And so this was today, St. Palmy 1 at St. Palmy 1, STPALME 1. Shout out him. You guys should follow him. Good follow, especially draft stuff. He was talking to Dane on this thread. And Dane says, I've been ranking, this is in regards to Walter Nolan, him in the 20s on my board. I think he'll ultimately go in that range. Plenty of negative feedback too, though. So if Dane's saying that, Dane is very plugged in. That is concerning, because I have been Walter Nolan all day, every day at pick 17.
Is he one from
Marshall?
Marshall?
From the 20s, no, he's the D tackle from Ole Miss.
Oh, okay.
But from the 20s to 17, it's not a huge difference. But at the same point in time, all this negative feedback and the character, that's all I've heard is character. It's like, what specifically are we talking about? And, work ethic or whatever. And the Bengals, I don't know that they can afford to take a guy that has some of these issues, but I still love Walter Nolan. I won't quit him. But at the same point in time, I am concerned, especially when somebody like Dane Brugler comes out and says that.
He's out. I mean, if you look at Al Golden's defenses, high character guys. So you might as well move him from the board if that's already the feedback, in my opinion. But
yeah,
I think it depends on what the, like Dale said, you gotta actually find out what the issues are first.
Yeah,
be more, which hopefully the Bengals are.
No, I'm out, man. Fuck it. We learned our lesson this year. Jesus Christ, they went ahead and dipped their toe back into the non-captains and somebody with character issues.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying I'm in or I'm out. I'm just saying you gotta find out.
Yeah, you do have to find out, because for me, I'm like, I would like to know more, but I probably won't. I'm not an NFL team. I don't have those sources. I don't have those resources to find out.
Right.
But the Bengals would have to feel very comfortable, I think, to take him. So that's just something. It's something to keep in mind as fans when you hear stuff like this. That's all I'm saying. Because player-wise, he's a top 15 player on my board all day, every day. Talent-wise, that's all I know about him. He's top 15. I'd be happy if he makes it to 17. So if we take him, I'll be happy talent-wise, but I'm concerned with whatever is out because I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if there's already buzz around this stuff and we're this many months from the draft, I mean, it's not a good sign. It's not, I mean, you got to do your research, but
back to fuck the Chiefs, right?
Yeah,
So fuck the Chiefs.
Fuck
the
'em.
Chiefs. Exactly.
fuck the Chiefs.
So
Yeah.
I guess I can finish what I was saying before I froze. But I was saying the Bengals basically did the same thing. They didn't get as much pressure on the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game when we won. They did it a little different. They rushed 3 or 4 and they dropped 8 back. I think they rushed 3 and dropped 8 back. And the Chiefs refused to run the ball. Then Patrick Mahomes, they kept him in the pocket. And that was the thing, too. If you watch Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Carter, if he stepped up, he ran right into Jalen Carter. So he couldn't go anywhere. So that's another reason why the ends can get around. That's the blueprint to beating the Chiefs. We did it in 2022. Now, the Eagles did it, but in the Super Bowl, and they got more pressure on them than we did. Ours is more coverage and keeping them in the pocket. But that's
Also,
how you beat
the
them.
pressure was on the NFL and the refs because everybody was talking
Dude.
about how
Seriously,
bad
I
they
think that
play
had
it.
something to do with it.
I'm telling you,
It felt different. It
Oh,
felt
God.
different.
The Chiefs got no calls. They
No.
got nothing. I was like, hell yes.
Yeah.
and they look stunned on the field. Like when they
Yeah,
wouldn't
they were
get
like,
called
"Hello,
on every
I'm
play,
like,
they're just like,
Look, where's the penalty? What's going on here?
Well, their defensive lineman, Chris, crud, who's their defensive lineman for Chiefs that fell on the ground after they threw an interception. Who's the Chris? Not Chris Carter.
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones. Thank you. I was going to say Chris Carter. Chris Jones fell on the ground on the bench. I'm like, Travis Kelce looked like he wanted to freaking cry. It's just
he should cry.
I was loving it. I'm
Well,
sorry.
he was going to propose. They run his moment.
Oh my God, you think he would have?
I don't know, but I'm going to go with that narrative. I seen someone tweet it, so let's roll with
Yeah,
it,
fuck
right?
it. I'm going with that narrative.
He was
too.
going to propose, and then they got their asses blown
Yeah, but
out.
Taylor doesn't want to date a loser.
Loser. He knew she'd say no.
Loser.
Like, Taylor, I love you, but we got our ass kicked. Can you marry me?
That's right.
I seen the
Fucking
one
loser.
meme where it looks like she's yelling at him. It's a picture or whatever where it looks like she's yelling at him,
Oh.
and the person was like,
Yeah.
"This isn't going to put fuel in the jet, Travis."
Hey, I want you guys all opinions on this. Jalen Hurts, played great, but let me ask you guys this: do you think he's a top tier quarterback, or does he just have a good team around him? Huh? I go back and forth on.
He's
it.
a
think
top tier
both.
quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
he outplayed Mahomes in the last Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's had two
I mean,
great
he
Super
said-
Bowls.
Yeah, he
he has,
outplayed him
yeah.
twice. So,
Yeah, no, he played great, but like I say, he's got two good receivers, a good tight end, best running back in the league,
but
best offensive line.
some
in
of
the
those
league.
balls he was dropping in were elite. The back shoulder throw to AJ Green, not AJ
Yeah.
Green.
Yeah, no,
AJ Brown.
I had a
Those are
conversation-
those are high level throws.
Right, I had a conversation with a buddy of
he-
mine. Like I say, I'm not. Jalen Hurts played awesome. But you could make an argument. He has a heck of a team around him too. You could say it's both also.
Yeah,
I mean,
so, I'm
to
just
me,
going some of the throws
KP
he
says he's top 15. To me, like, I'm talking he's because honestly, fringe top 5. Like, let's just try to name the top 5 quarterbacks off the top of our heads right now
Pat,
together. So Burrow, Pat, Josh Allen, Lamar. I mean, those 4 are basically the top tier, right? Will we say that's a clear top 4 that we all agree would be in the top 4?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
yeah. Is Hurts number 5, or do you put Stafford in there at 5, or who?
Jared Goff's at number 5. Just kidding.
But that's what I'm saying, though,
Yeah.
right? Jaden Daniels. I'm saying,
Jaden
I
Daniels,
feel
that's
like
true,
it's
yeah.
a conversation that
Yeah, he's in the conversation now for
You
sure.
can argue Jaden
for
Daniels
being
over
a
Jalen
top
Hurts.
5 quarterback.
Yeah,
You could argue
For me-
Jaden Daniels could be over Jalen Hurts almost.
Go ahead, Dustin.
He's from the 2020 draft class. He's got 2 Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl victory. That's more than anybody else in that class.
that's true.
Yeah.
You know,
And he outplayed the quote unquote GOAT twice.
He's top 32.
yeah,
Wesley says he's at least top 32.
yeah. I think it's the same argument with their coach, like Sirianni. Like, is he a great coach off that team? It's such a hard argument to make. Like, I'd put him in the top 10 for sure. Hurts.
He's
Yeah.
got
Oh,
top
absolutely.
10 coordinators. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he's definitely top 10, but that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. When you win a Super Bowl, I mean,
You have
and
to
this is
consider
how voters and things are looked at, right? At the end of your career. And he's talented enough with his legs. I hate the fucking tush push, by the way. I mean, yeah, they
It
scored the
works.
first one that way, but thankfully the game didn't come down to that. They just beat the Chiefs' ass. But he was throwing the ball, running the ball. managing the game, and he's got a great line, so it's like it's trying to factor all that in and say, is this guy top 5 or not? I don't know, because he has bad games and he has good games. But what the hell's Pat Mahomes done this year to say that he's even top 5
Pat Mahomes
from this year?
Yeah,
now, don't get it twisted. He
has had a shitty year this year.
And he easily is a top 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Top 3 because everything he's done. But I'm just saying, like, it's a NFL, not for long league. So what you do this year kind of matters. And the guy that won the Super Bowl with a phenomenal game, the MVP in the Super Bowl, and he would have been MVP a couple years ago when they lost to the Chiefs. He could be a 2-time Super Bowl MVP as a young guy in his career. That's the argument for him to be in the top 5. I'm not putting him over that top 4. None of them in the top 4. But 5th, I could make the argument he's a top 5 quarterback. That's all I'm saying.
No, absolutely. Like I was just thinking that to myself. Like, does he jump ahead in front of, like, he clearly jumped ahead in front of Jared Goff. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Stafford, though, I mean, but I would take him over Stafford if I had to pick a quarterback tomorrow. Now, I would probably take Jaden Daniels, Chop, but that's starting a team right now.
Yeah.
And I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback. I think he's done more with less. So I would probably put Jaden Daniels over him, but I mean, this guy just was Super Bowl MVP.
Based off his rookie year, Jaden Daniels is going to be really good.
But it's hard to base off of 1 year because C.J. Stroud, everybody was talking about top 5. Is he better than Burrow? And then this year it's like, oh, well, nope, maybe that was too soon. And I'm a Buckeye homer.
Well, this guy.
Somewhere in between.
This guy came out of the SEC, so don't worry about it, Dale.
Did the SEC win a national title this year? No, they didn't.
No, but the last great quarterback they had, they did. And his name's Joe Burrow. Joseph.
Daniel.
Here's another guy like Justin Herbert. I mean, Jaden Daniels, I think at one point I'm like, there's no way I would put Jaden Daniels over Justin Herbert. Now I have no problem saying Jaden Daniels is over Justin Herbert. That's another one I put up in front of.
I wish there was like a ranking for just postseason quarterback play.
Yeah.
Like Jalen Hurts has 10 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in his playoff career. I mean, look at Josh Allen in the playoffs this year. I don't think he played that great. He played okay.
Oh, especially in the AFC Championship game.
The Ravens threw for like 120 yards. Like
he threw 3 interceptions in the first drive.
Well, you look at Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, that year the Ravens won the playoffs, he had like 9 TDs and 0 interceptions. But did that mean I thought Joe Flacco was a top 10 quarterback? No, and look what happened. They gave him a big contract, and all of his teammates left. And look what happened right after that. So I mean, did you guys think Joe Flacco was a top-notch quarterback after he won that Super Bowl?
No.
I just want to say with Noddy, I agree. It's his first year, right? I said that. Like, we got to see. But it's a very impressive first year. Very.
I got to disagree, Noddy. Come on, no. It's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, Chop's
loved him since he was in college. Yeah. So
right.
But that's where at this point, if we're talking about Jaden Daniels Jalen Hurts being top 5, I mean, it's kind of hard to keep him out of there right now. But with 2 Super Bowl appearances and it's outplayed Mahomes twice.
Yeah, but that ain't him, man. That's that team.
Yeah.
He didn't outplay Mahomes. His defense outplayed Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't play the fucking offense.
Yeah, but the thing is, what they did is the Chiefs actually stopped Saquon Barkley. That's what they've been doing all year. Jalen Hurts had to beat them. He had to throw the ball to beat them, and he did.
You're right. Yeah,
but to be fair, that also helped him because they had to focus on Saquon.
And they still didn't give up the run game the entire time. They still kept handing it off to Saquon. It's not like they just stood back and threw the ball.
We had 47
we
yards.
could continue a conversation like this and plenty of others because we're an hour and 15 minutes in. We could continue this conversation on a show, I don't know, that starts at 5:30 potentially.
Oh, yeah? Where's that at?
Probably sports with strawberry ice.
Are we allowed on that red carpet show?
You got a red carpet on your show?
On your show? Shit, this one over here, man, it's a littered ass carpet. It's got cigarettes put out in it and shit.
Because I am going to go on with the Iceman, but I think that the Iceman's willing to have a fun conversation like this for a Fun Day Monday show, boys.
Fun Day Monday, baby.
All right. Well, I got Chipotle on the way, so I should be good to go.
No,
Sarah did one of the hot things, man. Like when you get older, you look for the sexy things. And my wife texts me while I'm on the show, like, "Do you want tacos from Chipotle?" It's like, hell yeah.
There you go.
It's hot as shit. man.
Anybody
Keep
else
coming on to
tapping
me.
in? Dustin, Greg, anybody trying to tap in?
I gotta go get dinner after this. Unfortunately,
All good.
sir.
I do.
Greg
I
doesn't
do
like coming on my show anymore.
You never asked me.
He just
He's
did.
asking you right
I just
now, and you
did.
said you got to go get dinner.
No, all right. I'll give you half an hour. How about that?
Yeah, Jeff, you get a half an hour.
All right. Sounds good.
Dustin, you want to hop
I
over?
I have to get back to work. I just wanted to pop in, but I'll be listening.
Good job, Dustin. God
I do
damn it.
gotta-
Appreciate you, Dustin.
I do have a pretty cool story to share with you guys, though.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my coworker today about the Super Bowl, and she her son is like best friends with Malachi Starks. She lives in Georgia. Said he's a great dude, and they said like from the time he entered into middle school, there were scouts like already coming around.
What?
Wow.
Talking about him. Yeah. So that's how crazy it gets. I mean, it's crazy in Ohio, you know, in recruiting. I mean, you see these athletes, but pretty cool story. Sounds like a good dude. They stay in contact to this day. So if he slips to 17,
Not ruling it out. I'm not
Yeah.
ruling him out at 17. He can cover like a corner.
yeah, I love that.
Cornerback
I mean,
now.
you have a safety that can drop down and cover like a corner. That makes your defense so versatile, you know.
Jesse
can do some
Bates
of the
had
things.
those kind of coverage skills. He was pretty good.
He's still got him. He just doesn't have him for us anymore.
Yeah, right. He had them for us.
Right.
You know,
He
what's
didn't lose
funny-
them, but he had them
Yeah,
for us.
right. Exactly.
You know what's funny is the Falcons finished like one of the worst defenses in pass defense this year, despite
Well,
him making all those
they,
plays.
they need to cut Jesse Bates in. I think
Yeah,
that's,
they need to
No,
cut
no, I
Bates.
know that's what I'm
yes,
saying.
I think the
It's
Falcons
better.
should cut him.
Takopoulos.
Pacopolis.
Herbie Hancock on the show today, Crip said. Okay.
Herbie Hancock.
Little Herb job. All right, boys, we're going to end this one. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Jay Gruden, absolutely fantastic guest. And then Dustin and Jeff were all right. They're no Jay Grudens, but they
Right.
were great when they hopped in.
Right.
I'm glad that you asked about John Gruden because he's on Barstool so much. So.
I had to,
Oh, yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, you want to do a little of that? Like the guy he's on a generational run right now.
He's
for
killing
Barstool.
it. It's
He's just
great.
doing, oh my gosh.
Yeah, because Jaden Daniels did go to Arizona State. 3-year starter, and then 2
That's
year
right.
starter at LSU. This just all this stuff stays up here.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Appreciate y'all tuning in.
Yeah,
you guys
thank
are
you.
the best. Greg was supposed to dot bot for
He
Gruden,
didn't,
and he
though.
didn't. We screwed up.
bad,
We'll have
Greg.
to dot bot for him the next time we have him on. Who everybody?
Hey!